The Theosophical Society presents Phoebe Bendit in a talk entitled The Reality of Illusion.
Now the unawakened man, who has no bothers about spiritual perception and all that kind of thing, does not realize that there is any difference between reality and illusion. He lives in the world, he has his physical life and physical body, he has his home and his work, and there is the world beyond him. And what more is there to know? Why should he concern himself with anything other than the things that occupy his time and attention? That goes on for a considerable time. But at some point, he has some kind of catastrophe or shock, and this casual, taking it as it comes, way of life breaks up, and he's astounded and startled and doesn't know which way to turn. And so he begins on the long journey of self-realization. But for a very long time, he has no idea that there is any difference between reality and illusion. And as he becomes a little more perceptive, he gets even more confused, because sometimes both seem to him as real as the other. And it is not until he's travelled quite a long way that he begins to separate them out and to find that there is a distinct difference between these two things. But now we are dealing with life in this day of time as we are in the world as it is. And we are not likely to be having any easier kind of life, probably throughout the rest of this incarnation. We have to accept the fact that we live in this world as it is at the present moment. And it's very difficult to actually define the word reality. I looked up 7 dictionaries, and each one of them gave an entirely different conception of the word. And so I gave it up. And I thought that we would work it out here as best we can. And there are 2 points of view which are current in the world of today. Let us take ourselves as we are. There is a manifested universe, whether we see it or not. All the far countries, their phenomena, all go on, living, moving, dying, being, quite independently of us. Everything is pursuing its ordered way, and whether we are there to see it, and to touch it and to know it, doesn't matter in the very least. Now this is the realistic point of view, and I want to set against it the idealistic philosophy, which is a system of thought in which objects, that is the world outside ourselves, of external perception, are considered as existing in terms of ideas. Now that is an entirely different point of view. It is the philosophical point of view. But the fact is, there is truth in both those points of view. Because the thing as it is in reality and my image of that thing are very different, it does not reflect in any way from the thing itself. For instance, and here I wanted a very common object to illustrate my meaning. And so I thought of a large pebble on the path. The pebble looked at from one angle is a heavy, round object, probably not at all beautiful on the outside. It can also become a weapon to throw at an enemy. It can be used as a weight in order to keep things from blowing away. It can be seen as a piece of silicon from which glass is made. And so we can go on in a very long-winded way, giving to that object different angles of our perception. From the scientific point of view, it's an object of a certain mass and specific gravity. And all these are subdivisions about a pebble which is seen and observed as a solid object. But from another angle, another interesting point of view comes in. The pebble is not a solid object at all. It is mostly empty space, with small aggregations of energy a long way apart, held together in an electromagnetic field of vibration. And so I could go on and on about the pebble. But the different conceptions about the same object merely means that every mind perceiving that pebble would see it in a unique way, that is, through the perceptive field that we possess. Now, what is the real truth about the pebble? How can we ever hope to know it in its entirety? Because all the pictures that I have given you contain a measure of reality and unreality. And this mixture, let us be quite clear about this, is not the same thing as believing, in which there is no objective reality. Illusion, not illusion, illusion is something which lies between reality and an entirely false belief or delusion. Illusion has always in it an element of truth, but it is not the whole truth. As such, illusion serves us as a means of pragmatic process and a method of learning. Now, how do we work that out? A child learns by imaginative make-believe. In so doing, he travels a certain distance towards whatever is his goal. He learns by surrounding himself with an illusion. For the time being, he creates a certain reality. His rocking horse is a real horse. And while he is engaged and concentrated with thought and feeling upon the rocking horse, he is creating a field of reality for himself. He is surrounding himself, filling his own little auric field with his conception of the rocking horse, whether he is riding it to battle, whether it is in the stable and he is feeding it or grooming it or whatever it may be. It is his horse, he is one with it, and it is his little world. Now, were he not to see things in this sharply realistic way, there would be no psychic link between himself and the object or situation in which he is engaged, and he would learn nothing. Now, I want to say very clear about that. The element of illusion serves as a vital and a dynamic link in which his mind plays a very greater part the important principle is this, that there has to be a two-way traffic. I want to explain that a little further. The child and the rocking horse has created a two. If it were only the child and only the rocking horse, they would be two isolated sectors. But because the child and the rocking horse have become one by psychic identity, then there is a two-way traffic. The child contributes to the field of the horse, and the horse contributes its part to the field of the child. And always there is this back and forth within and out. And we need of all in this topic to realize that illusion is a thing without which grace could not take place. It's the living link between oneself and the world around, and it's the means whereby the mind draws sustenance and nutriment from nature and the world with which it has to deal. So always there is the back and forth within and without. The physical world gives us certain sense impressions. We react according to the type, quality of our equipment, and we all respond differently. But there is also something further than that. It isn't that the world gives us the impact of sense impressions. It is that the mind sends out to the world. And so there is always that living field between the two. But with all things, of course, there has to be a norm. There has to be a certain balance. And if there is not that balance, there is trouble. Because the regulation in the world of illusion, the element of illusion, over the element of reality, leads to fantasy and delusion. And in summary, I wanted to bring this in very simply, because this is a thing that we need to have a working idea of. Insanity is in a sense where illusion has created such a dominance that the link with reality is lost. And again, we tell you something else which is much more difficult to understand. Too much reality, unbuffered and unfattened by illusion, can also shatter a mind that is not strong enough to bear it. It can be said that some insane people are so because they have been and are too realistic to live in ordinary society, just as other people are too deluded. Now, I want to